Welcome back. We're going to cover session 1.2 now. And what we're going to cover is the connecting anxiety to traumatic experiences. We're going to also look at an overview of the brain and its reactions to anxiety. We're going to cover how the brain seeks safety and comfort because the brain wants that or it's going to die. We'll cover that in detail. Now, we're going to gain a better understanding of why we've made some of the craziest choices we've made or not made choices we should have. We'll look at that. Now, I want to start with some of the parts of the brain that are important for us to understand. Let's start with the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is that reptilian part of the brain. It's a part of the brain that is basically, I call it the alligator part of the brain, and it's a primitive part of the brain, and it's fully functional at birth. It's actually a part of the brain which, when a baby gets spanked, it hollers. When the baby gets hungry, it hollers, it cries. When it feels lonely, like nobody's around, he can't see anybody or she can't see anybody, they cry. Why? Because they want to make sure somebody's there to touch or to behold them, that they're not alone. Because this alligator is constantly scanning for danger. And it's telling the other part of the brain that if you're left alone, and you're alone, dude, hey, this is bad news. Everybody's deserted you. They've left you all alone, and you're going to die. Well, the baby cries. Now, it alarms the monkey. Now, that's his job. Constantly scan. He's very, very stupid, but he's very, very fast. And when he sees something that says to him, danger, he alarms the monkey. Now, that's the part of the brain that's called the hippocampus. Now, it resides also in the limbic system there. And the limbic system, I call the monkey brain, is that part of the brain that develops over a period from birth to approximately the age of 10. And during that period of time, it develops and learns emotional reactions to certain things. Every time the alligator screams danger, panic, then the monkey has learned emotional responses. It's not high thinking, it's not very smart, it's emotional reaction. Now, it energizes us, it reacts to danger in learned responses. Now, whatever you've learned as your go-tos from birth to 10, when this monkey can probably function with one or two buttons, we always got a backup. And some of us are gifted, we got two or three there that we can go to, but usually he's going to hit one or two. Now, these two guys talk really fast. So when the alligator hollers, the monkey just quickly pushes a button, and a learned response. It has nothing to do with consequences. It has nothing to do with morality, values. It's very selfish, very self-centered. In other words, these parts of the brain can shut off organs in our body so that it can live longer. It's very selfish. And nothing exists outside of the moment. So that's why didn't you think of this or why didn't you think of that? Well, if the brain is shut down, I mean, if this part of the brain has hijacked you, then you didn't think. That monkey was pushing buttons as quick as he could, and it was doing it with what you learned at 10 years or earlier. So how well do you think that goes for you? Now, we also said it's very fast and it is not very bright. It's very stupid, but fast. Now, there's a frontal part. We do have a smart part. And that is developed over a period of, for guys, it's later than females. Females are usually developed earlier, than 2021. Guys usually don't fully develop in this area until around 25. That's how they can draft us if we think we're not going to die. So that part of our brain that's the front one. That's our thinking part. That is our executive. It's our scientist. It's our judge. It's the one that says, nah, you better not do that. That's going to hurt. Or, come up with great ideas. I mean, that is our higher level thinking. It's really cool. It's that part of the brain that we call the executive. It assesses information and data and reason. And it's a decision maker. And it helps us make a lot better decisions than the monkey, that's for sure. Now, why do I say all this? Is to understand that, remember the monkey and the alligator? Well, when panic happens, when the trapdoor shuts, when shame overcomes us, then they take over and they start driving your bus. And you're going to meltdown. And when you're in meltdown, when you're in panic mode, then the alligator's saying you're going to die. And the monkey's quickly pushing the button. I mean, whatever button he's got to do, he's going to push it. And that button's usually something you learned up to 10 years of age. So you're about 10 years or younger. Think how well that's going to go. Now, let's remember the monkey. Now, what are the skills, the strategies that this little monkey's got? And there's one or two buttons. Well, he's going to learn to freeze. Says, okay, if you stand still, maybe he can't see me and won't eat me. I don't know. So the brain freeze. Now, that's also the point where you're in a situation, somebody suddenly asks you something, and you're totally out of your element, and you go through a brain freeze. He's like, I don't know how to answer that. Now, that's one. Now, the other one is fight. You get cornered. You feel emotionally cornered. You feel intellectually cornered, relationally, whatever. Then some of us are geared to come out fighting because we're frightened. Now, then there's the forage. You never know when you're going to, the alligator saying, man, you're going to die. Let's eat something so you can live longer. Well, some of us take forage to an incredibly gifted level. And that's one of my go-tos. I can forage with the best of them. Almost frostbite on the nose, standing in front of the refrigerator, trying to forage. Now, I get that. And that monkey likes to eat. Because I learned, when that monkey learned, actually, he learned at an early age that if I didn't eat it, there'd be starving people in China, kids in China without it. So I needed to eat it. So that's me. I'm trying to keep all those starving kids in Africa or China or somewhere from dying. Now, or flight. Yeah, run. Now, we can actually run and never leave the room. You can just disappear. You can go somewhere. But flight is a way of surviving. I don't have to outrun that dinosaur. I just have to outrun you. And I feel like I'm going to be eaten or I'm in danger and the alligator is screaming, then the monkey says, run, dude, run, run, dude, run, and you run. Now, and the other is fornicate. Now, you think of these things, none of these things are immoral or wrong in and of themselves. Obviously, if we didn't have sex, we wouldn't be reproducing. And there's times when plagues come along after war. Look at the most recent data, World War II. The population in the 50s exploded. I'm one of those babies. It's like all these guys coming back from World War II and different battlefields and theaters all over the world, and they're coming back and cranking out the babies left and right. Why? Because there's a sense within our humanity or our species is that we've got to replenish what was lost and put back on so we can survive. And you know something? The monkey is saying, hey, dude, this works. We're still alive. Don't stop. This is good stuff. Now, I know it doesn't work. I get that. Now, one of the things I'd like to talk to you about as we go through this review is a brief overview of the connection with brain function and centers of knowing. And I hope you understood that if the alligator hollers, the monkey's going to push a button, and basically they work so fast that they hijack the brain before you got a chance to think about it in your higher level. That's why we do some crazy things. That's why it's so important we talk about how do we lower this anxiety? How do we deal with this? Now, I think we've looked at and creating and working on a new awareness of certain people in our lives may respond differently based on which side of knowing they may be. Now, and also appreciation of why we do what we do when that trap door shuts. Now, we act the way we do to survive. It's a survival technique. All right, now, I want to encourage you something. Don't rush through this stuff. Don't share your work with unsafe people. Keep this close at heart. Keep this stuff until you have sorted through this and sifted through it yourself. Don't go out sharing stuff right away. Take your time. Be intentional. Go over this with those who have earned the right to listen. Maybe, research tells us that when we tell our story to somebody else who has a similar story, our brain heals because it's empathy. If you're trying to tell your story to your spouse, the addict or whatever, or the addict's trying to tell their story to the spouse, there's not going to be any brain healing there. And that because there can't be any empathy. Y'all have not been in each other's shoes. Now, here's your assignment. I want to go over this real quick. I want you to take time to think through the circumstances when you suspect your trap door shut. Just name a few. Make a list. A week ago I did this. I was at a social meeting or whatever else, and boom, it shut. All right. Now think of times when you said something or didn't, and later wished differently. Write it down. Now write down several of your typical responses when you trap door shuts. What does a monkey want? What button does that monkey want to push? What's your go-to button? What's your backup button? And what do you try to do with this? I mean, what is that monkey trying to tell you to do so that you'll live, that you'll be safe? Now, take some time out. This is the end of session 1-1, and we'll be right back.